Welcome to episode 218 of KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. Today, the top mistakes people make when purchasing their first home. And Adrian's got 10 funny tips generated by AI. Don't miss that one. Let's go. All right. Today, the top mistakes people make when purchasing their first home. And edition today.
Today we're doing a special segment. It's our top 10 list. Today's top 10 list is Humorous, first-time homebuyer mistakes. And this is generated by AI.
Why don't you, for those that might not know what that means, why don't you explain it?
AI, artificial intelligence. There are...
Generated by AI.
So we input...
If you told me this a few months ago, I would have been like, huh?
All right, so there's various platforms you can use. This is ChatGPT. It's a widely spoken about artificial intelligence platform being used right now. So we input a question, and we ask them for a top 10 list of humorous first-time homebuyer mistakes, and we've got them for you today. So we're going to run through those after we go through the serious ones.
Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You couldn't have chosen an even number?
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up with 7. They're literally...
Are they in any particular order?
They're not.
Okay.
They're not. Because I think with these kind of lists, the importance level... Varies from person to person, from purchaser to purchaser, so...
And I also have some stories from Reddit, so some firsthand experience from people that made mistakes or would have done something different or just had a particular situation they ran into.
What level of or what degree of seriousness or honesty do you believe these
they're
Reddit
legit.
Posts are? They?
Reddit is legit.
Well, I know Reddit is legit. The people, Ian,
would you
Ian
disagree?
Begs to differ.
I mean, it's genuine. It's people coming on there, talking about genuine feelings.
I don't know about genuine.
And experience. You think so?
Well, there is such thing as karma.
All right. You want to get right into it? I've got my notes.
All right, let's talk about yours. Yeah, start
so
with...
I can go through each one of these points. Again, we're focusing on the top mistakes people make when purchasing their first home. For those of you that have gone through this, we're going to be writing a blog that focuses around this topic. So if you've got some additional pointers, you want to shed some light on something, or maybe talk about something that we're not talking about today, leave a comment and do us a solid. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening, you can subscribe by going to ktconfidential.ca. Hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps our channel. All right. Number 1, no particular order. Top mistakes people make when purchasing their first home.
And people also referred to as first-time homebuyers. I'm just rewording it a little bit. Continue on.
The top mistakes purchasers make in their first transaction? You like that better? Number 1, not thinking about future needs or the future owners. So, example, schools, amenities, parks and rec, all of which affect 2 things. The enjoyment you or future owners might receive from living in that property. 2, future value.
Yeah.
So at some point, as a first-time home buyer, you're thinking about cashing out your equity to then upgrade your home. Things like schools, amenities, parks, recreational activities.
One thing regarding
like
schools that I think a lot of people don't take into consideration is, let's say you're very close to a school, or maybe back onto a school, and it's perceived as a good thing because you have no neighbors for the majority of the day and the majority of the year. One thing to take into consideration is that between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock and 3:30 in the afternoon, your street will be lined with cars and foot traffic.
Well, and during the day, you've got recess,
Yes.
which can get noisy.
More
You
so
might
now than
have-
you used to because of work from home situations and stuff like
You
that.
might have extracurricular activities happening, like soccer games, football games, what have you. So those are things to consider. But if you think, a lot of first-time homebuyers might be younger. Maybe it's a couple that are buying their first home together and starting their lives together. They might not be thinking about schools yet because they don't have kids. Maybe 5 to 7 years from now, you have a child that has to go to school. So how far is that school? Is that school adequate? Is that the type of school? Did you do any research on that school? And then going down that path of having kids, are there amenities? Where are the doctors? Where is the hospital? Are there any programs for children of certain ages? So I don't think a lot of first-time home buyers think that way enough.
Assuming they're in a relationship.
Even if they're not. So when I bought my current home,
Yeah.
I was single.
Yeah.
Did I need a double car garage home with a park and a school down the street? No. But was I forward thinking, hoping to start a family one day? Yeah.
Okay.
Why is this funny to
Well,
you?
I believe that the size was a factor. I don't believe that you cared about the school, or not didn't care about the school being there, but it wasn't. If it wasn't there, you still would have bought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knowing that there would still be a school within a very short drive, knowing Milton and how it's planned.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got one in every block, basically.
Yeah.
Every community has one.
Every
Neighborhood.
sub-district.
Yeah.
So we live in the Wilmot sub-district,
Yes.
and pretty well from every home in that community, you can walk to school technically within kind of 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was number one, not thinking about future needs or future resale and the needs of those potential future owners.
So for that, I agree to a degree. I don't think it can be important depending on what's happening, especially if there's negative things that could impact or future developments that are in the works that you might be able to find out about that could have a positive or negative impact on the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or the municipality as a whole, which maybe could lead to one neighborhood appreciating more than another. But I also think that if you're buying in a developed area where you're likely not to see any new schools come up or old schools go away, that you're paying the price is all relative. So if you're buying at X amount of money, you would have paid more if you were closer to a school. So at the end of the day, it's all.
Well, and if you want to go down that path, I mean, there are developments of different kinds in any town, city. So as an example, a lot of people might not know, just east of James Snow Parkway is it's industrial.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to buy a home right across the street where your backyard
Well, we
might
have
be
clients that bought
facing-
new construction. We helped them sell one of their previous homes because they'd bought a new construction home and they face that development. Do you remember?
If it is who I think you're referring to, they bought years ago.
Yes.
Years ago.
Yeah. This is, but when they found out after moving into their new construction home, after learning what was proposed to go across the street, they reconsidered. They still live there now to this day, so maybe they've just accepted that and are okay with it. But it was something that bothered them when they found out it was going in.
Well,
it will affect resale.
CN Intermodal,
Yeah.
Britannia and Tremaine area. There are a lot of new construction homes being built right around there. So, those are some of those future things that you need to consider. Okay, so that was number one. Again, in no particular order. going to the next point.
We
Not
would call this number 2.
not understanding the scope of a potential renovation or upgrade. What do you mean by that, Ariel? I mean,
You didn't even give me a chance to ask you.
a lot of first-time home buyers, and I'm sure this has happened to you.
Yeah.
You take them, let's say, to an older bungalow or an older home where floor plans were more segregated,
Mhm.
right? You had a dining room that was blocked off from the rest of the house or a living room, and they walk in there, they go, oh, I want open concept.
Oh, yeah. HGTV has caused everyone to want to just knock
Right.
down every wall.
Right.
Right.
Um,
Or not be able to see beyond that.
and it's usually one of the two. Like if it's a couple, you'll be walking through the house. Maybe their needs or let's say wants open concept, because we hear that all the time. I want a big kitchen. I want open concept. I want nice finishes, right? First time home buyers, HGTV syndrome. And you'll always get one of them saying, oh, we can just knock down that wall, open it right up. Even realtors get in a bad habit of saying, yeah, just, open that up. You can extend the kitchen into here, and then it's all one big room. You have to understand the scope of that work.
Yeah.
And then what the cost to do that is. And is it within your budget? And what is the time frame to complete said project? Those are all variables that you've got to take into consideration. And even, I made a note here, something as simple as flooring. You might walk into a home and say, I don't like those tiles, or I don't like the carpet, or whatever the flooring that exists. I don't like it. This is especially true with sheet vinyl or vinyl flooring if they're glued down.
Yeah.
You don't know what extent of work is required to remove the existing flooring and to prepare it.
Just go right over top.
Yeah, just go right over top. You don't know, how much work is involved. And even to the point where sometimes you're removing an existing floor. Give you an example. Maybe you want to remove this old oak hardwood, and you happen to like a trendy vinyl floor, like vinyl planks, like we've used in the past. Well, the vinyl might be a lot thinner than the hardwood that's there. So you might have gaps under your baseboards,
So now you've gone off top. Now you're going to renovation suggestions for first-time renovators.
No. It's understanding the scope of the renovation and potential upgrades. So if you're walking into that home and again, realtors are very guilty of this, so you have to treat this with a side of caution, is everybody can fall into that trap of saying, oh, it's easy, just replace the carpet with, hardwood floors and you got your hardwood floors.
Right.
But now you get into replacing potential baseboards and casings around doors. It's got to look good. If you're going to do it right. I
think more importantly on that topic would be, because I don't think a lot of first-time home buyers are doing renovations, but I think the key there, and the reason is a lot of first-time home buyers get caught up on the frilly stuff, which may be in your list, getting excited and falling in love with all the nice stuff. I think more first-time home buyers.
It's not actually.
Need to, well, there's number 8 to make it even. They need to look and consider older homes at a lower price point that do require some of that work to make it their own.
All right. Well, that's a good segue into point number 3.
All right.
Be prepared to do some work on your own or budget to hire somebody. And I made a note of cleaners, painters, plumbers, electricians. You might not want to or have the capability of taking on that work, but be prepared to put some legwork into it. Be prepared to get into the nitty-gritty of owning your first home. A lot of YouTube videos, so some people might not know how to clean a glass shower, something as simple as that, right? With calcium caked on it. Simple to change a light fixture. You may have not ever done that in your life.
Right.
A lot of YouTube videos, a lot of tutorials to guide you through that. Be prepared to do some of that work. And then also budget to hire the people for the work that you can't or shouldn't be doing. Don't do your own plumbing.
No. I think most people are good at avoiding that. Electrical, I think some more people will tinker with maybe, but you shouldn't tinker if you're not comfortable.
Right. Don't want to burn down your first home.
No.
Next point.
Number 4.
In no particular order. Shopping for a home during your probationary period. So if you have a new job, you get this, especially if it's in a different career segment.
Yes.
But banks right now, lenders, do not like giving money to people.
Well, they won't.
During a probationary period. So you just get this new job, you're making more money. You're like, oh, this is my dream job, dream company. And it's maybe in a new location. Oh, yeah, we're going to go buy a house. No, you're not.
Right. Well,
this just happened with, won't mention any names. One of our employees purchased a new home. One of our salaried employees purchased a new home. And this person's spouse started a new job.
Before or after? At what point?
In the onset of discussions of moving.
Okay.
Started a new job. 6-month probation period.
Can you do that?
Which is not legal anymore.
Right.
So 3-month probation period is allowed.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize they're not going to get funding
right
during that period. And even then, again, if you started a new career, it's not affiliated with or not in line with your previous role, you could have more difficulties.
Well, in most cases, you won't get financing if you're
during the probationary period.
Within a probationary period. And so what's most important is make sure you have a firm approval in place before shopping. And between buying and closing, don't change your job either. Because they could come back and say, okay, we now need updated proof of income.
Yes.
And then if you change your job, one, you may not qualify, period. 2, if you're in your probationary period, again, then you're going to run into issues. So sit tight.
Here's a pro tip.
You move in.
Pro tip. If you've been on your job for, I would say, more than a month, and they're super happy with you, super happy with the work that you're doing, you may be able to go to your manager or the HR department or whatever and say, hey, here's the situation. Me and my partner or I want to purchase a home. I can't get a mortgage during a probationary period.
Yeah.
I'm really happy here. I hope you're happy with my work. Would you be willing to waive the probationary period now?
Right. It's a good idea.
Yeah, because really for companies at the end of the day, they fire you anyway.
Right.
So whether it's during a probationary period or not, the only difference is they might owe you a few bucks. And quite honestly, if you've only been with them for a month or two, it's literally going to be a few bucks.
And after a month or two, they probably have an indication as to whether or not they're going to
They have an
proceed
idea.
with you.
Is this person a moron or do we want to keep them on? You kind of touched on it. Next point, in no particular order.
This is 5?
Sure, whatever. Having paperwork organized for the mortgage pre-approval. So a lot of people end up scrambling for their paperwork at the very last minute or don't understand the scope of what paperwork is needed. Some realtors don't prepare you. Some mortgage brokers or the banks
Yeah.
You try and you walk into a bank, it's a very tedious and long process. So things like notice of assessments, your T4s, your T5s, making sure all of your taxes are up to date and paid, and that you've got proof that they are up to date and paid. And then I made a note of not taking on any more credit. You touched on that. So
keep finances just par for the course from approval till closing. Don't take on any new debt.
Don't take on anything.
Don't change your job.
Don't change your job.
Don't co-sign for someone's loan.
Don't co-sign for somebody's loan.
Yeah. And as far as finances are concerned, and there was a Reddit message about a comment about this, for deposits, which are in Ontario anyways, are required within 24 hours of an accepted agreement.
Well, if the agreement
unless otherwise stated, make sure your deposit is readily available. So as an example, in this story, the guy had $10,000 in one account and was going to use $10,000 from his Visa. I don't know why his Visa, but he had, but in order to transfer the funds from one to the other, it was a 3-day wait. In the end, he ended up getting the bank to be able to accommodate him. But there are people who need to pull funds from various areas, or pull funds out of an RSP, or sell something to get that money. Or
somebody's gifting you money and that money is tied up in a GIC.
Yeah. Or if you're doing like first time home buyer plan and you have to have the money in your RSP for a certain amount of time, that's something to take into consideration as far as when your closing date is.
Yes.
So there's lots of things financially and in terms of time frame.
Yes.
Aligning things properly.
Yes. So not taking on any more credit. And I would suggest not closing any accounts either, because that can affect your score. And also, there's two more points within this. Pull your own Equifax report and understand what you're seeing on your report. First of all, verifying that all of the information is correct. Keeping your balances. Here's a great pro tip. Keep your balances like as low as possible on your revolving credit. So credit cards specifically, do not run a high balance on there. And also understand that revolving credit is seen as being used even when it's not. So something like a line of credit, which a lot of people have these days, whether they're secured or unsecured. If you have a $10,000 unsecured line of credit, even if it has a balance of 0, in your debt service ratio, when the bank or the lender does their math to see how much you can afford, they are considering that $10,000 is being fully utilized.
Because it could be.
Because it could be at any time.
I think it used to be 50%, and then they increased it, which is also interesting because if you've got an empty line of credit not being utilized, and you have a car payment, and with a $10,000 balance remaining on it, they will see that $10,000 car loan and a $10,000 line of credit. Whereas if you now take that $10,000 line of credit, pay off your car loan,
you eliminate that car payment.
It has you completely remove the car payment, and it improves. They will approve you for more money.
Correct.
So
that's what I did with my vehicle.
Yes.
I bought the lease out early, paid it off with home line equity, line of credit.
Yeah.
And now the lending ability increased by the amount that I took off in terms of the monthly payment.
Right.
Next point.
Number 6.
Set up your team in advance. Who is your team as a purchaser? Your realtor, the lawyer you're going to use, the mortgage broker, and potentially the home inspector.
Yes.
Obviously, the realtor is a good first step because they might have recommendations or referrals to those other people. But do your due diligence. Who do you want to use as a lawyer? You're going to need to know that especially if you're buying a condo, you want them to review something like the condo documents, the status certificate. You want to know where you're getting the money to purchase this home. So having the right mortgage broker that's tied with the right lenders. And then if you do put an offer on something, that can all happen real quick. You might need to get a home inspection really quick. So knowing who you are going to use in that process and choosing those people and interviewing those people in advance just sets you up for a quicker, smoother transaction.
And I'll just go a little bit further regarding the home inspector and say, do not opt for your friend who's an engineer or your dad's buddy who's a home builder or your uncle or aunt who is a fucking tradesperson, whatever. We've been in many scenarios where that's who the client chooses, and they never do anything near what a home inspector will do, right? They'll look at a couple things. They won't get as detailed. They won't go in the attic. They don't really know what they're looking for. It's not their specialty. So
they might, you hit the nail on the head with that. It's not their specialty. So they might be very well versed in one area of a home or a specific segment of that build, if you will. But they're not trained to look at it all.
Right.
And they're not giving you a report.
And there's really nothing to fall back on.
Correct.
Right. So home inspectors are worth the money to spend the $300 to $500 or whatever it is you're spending to get one done properly.
Those might be 1990 prices, not 2023. You can get one
done for $500.
Depends on the size of the home. Depends on the scope of the inspection.
Sure.
So set up your team in advance.
Yes.
Good tip.
Number 7.
Understanding the life expectancies and sticking to a budget for them. So things like the furnace, the roof, the windows, the air conditioner, the appliances, those all have life expectancies. So at what cycle and at what age are all of these components? When potentially do you need to improve them or change them? And then budgeting for those accordingly. Because the last thing you want is you buy a home, it's got a 15-year-old air conditioner, and it's running fine now, but you don't know when it might need to be replaced.
Right.
So you almost need immediately to have a budget for the air conditioner.
You need an emergency fund even if it's brand new. Maybe not brand new because it's covered under warranty, but a 5-year-old appliance can fail.
Very good point. Well, and then appliances. If an appliance is 5 years old, you can expect in 5 to 7 years that you may need to replace it. So right away now you can set up a 5 to 7 year plan to put a little bit of money aside for appliances. So understand how long the components of the home are going to last and create a budget for them. So just to recap, we had 7 points there. Think about the future needs, future uses of the property. Not only yours, but if you're reselling the property, the future owner. Number 2, understanding the scope of the renovation and upgrades that you might want to do to the property. Number 3, being prepared to do some work on your own or budgeting to hire somebody, whether it's a cleaner, a painter, a plumber, etc. Number 4, shopping during the probation period. Big no-no. You're not going to get money. Number 5, having paperwork organized for your mortgage approval. So notice of assessments, T4s, T5s, making sure your property tax or your income taxes and all of that are paid with proof that it's paid. And we'll call it 5A, understanding your credit report, your Equifax report. Don't take on any more credit. Don't make any changes to your credit, and understand what the revolving credit is that you've got. Number 6, setting up your team in advance, your realtor, your lawyer, mortgage broker, home inspector. And number 7, understanding the life expectancies and having a budget for potential repairs or replacements to all of those things.
Well, on that one, here's a Reddit example. Day 2 of
that was my list.
Day
That's
2, good list. Date in no particular order. Day 2 of moving in, the fridge breaks after we fully stocked it. It was $400 to fix the fridge, and I lost $300 in brand new groceries. Then the electricity in the garage stopped working, and a fuse blew, so I had to get an electrician out. $200. 2 weeks later, 3 lights stopped working in the kitchen, so an electrician comes in again. $300. I wonder if they just replaced the bulbs. 3 days later, the dishwasher breaks and floods the floor. $300 for a plumber. That was
all in the first
month.
couple of weeks? Holy smokes.
Yeah, but it's the reality of things. It happens, right? I had a client 2 years ago move into a 10-year-old home, roughly, and the furnace stopped working. It shouldn't have stopped working at 10 years on average. It should have been good for a while. Yeah. Another 10 years.
Yeah.
And then about 3 months later, they had a flood in the basement. So, this is stuff that sucks, but it happens. Here's another one. Burst irrigation pipe on the first week, and we hadn't moved in yet, so we had no idea. So this water leak, fortunately outside, was just water going constantly. $4K to fix the problem, $3K in a water bill. The city was nice enough to put us on an installment plan. There's another one here where this is a single woman. Bought a house as a solo woman, first month. I woke up in the middle of the night because I heard my bedroom door close. That's creepy. Then I saw flashlight beams in the gaps around the door. I hid in my closet and called the cops. Thought they caught a homeless dude eating my leftover pizza in the garage with my credit cards and AirPods in his pocket. He broke in around 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Investigate the area that you're going to be buying in. Drive around at night.
And change your locks just in case your neighbor or homeless dude has the key. Maybe the homeless dude is just like a disgruntled ex-boyfriend or something from the previous owner.
I'm going to insert pro tip here. So anybody that buys a home with our team, we automatically schedule rekeying for all exterior doors.
Yeah.
But how many people don't change the garage door codes?
Yeah. Or not even the codes. The remotes, like resetting the signal.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Because you may have the remotes, but they may have their cars programmed.
Yeah. Or their phones or whatever.
Yes. All right. So just to finish this off, I've got my top 10 lists from ChatGPT of the top 10 humorous first-time homebuyer mistakes.
So just for my clarification, these are now, you've inputted some data into this AI, and it spat out 10 funny random first-time homebuyer tips.
Yes. And it even went on in the end to say, again, please keep in mind that these are all fictional examples and not to be taken seriously. Buying a house is a serious investment and should be treated as such.
All right, let's go.
There's the asterisk. Number 1, falling in love with a house only to realize it's haunted by the ghost of a former owner who refuses to leave. So you should... You never know. You should always Google the address, right? Find out if there was a murder, suicide.
Yes.
Maybe someone died in the house. That doesn't have to be disclosed.
Yes.
But you never know. Sometimes I've been in houses where I just get a creepy feeling. Like I'll go back in, my clients, I say goodbye because it's the last house. I go back in to shut all the lights off. And I just...
Did you just see the
lights all
flickered?
just flashed? That is creepy.
Oh, that just gave me goose pimples.
But there's been some houses where I just will run through and just smack every light switch. Something's going on in here. This is an old building. Number 2, forgetting to measure the doorways for furniture and realizing your brand new sectional won't fit through the front door. That would suck. Most things are standard, but it can happen.
Well,
try removing the legs. Tip number 1, remove the legs if you need to. Remove the door from the hinges. Hopefully that helps.
When I moved out of my 3-story townhome.
Oh, those are the worst.
They literally... the box spring for the mattress.
Yeah. Queen size bed, king size bed?
It was a queen size.
Okay.
They had to lower it off the balcony with a rope.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of those hallways are tough.
Yeah.
Number 3, not realizing the backyard pool is actually just a giant fish pond and all of your dream pool parties are ruined. Number 4, not noticing the house is built on top of an active volcano and your insurance company doesn't cover lava damage. Funny. Probably not going to happen, but you should check for your insurance coverage before buying the house. You never know what reasons insurance companies may come up with not to cover it. Number 5, not checking the zoning laws and finding out you're not allowed to turn your basement into a speakeasy. I'd love that's like an illegal bar, right?
There goes my house.
Number 6, failing to budget for unexpected expenses. Like we've been
Why
talking
is that
about.
funny?
Like having to hire a witch doctor to remove the curse on the property. We've actually had clients that have, priests or whomever, whatever designation, go in, rabbis, priests, go in and bless the house and do their thing. Number 7, forgetting to check the neighbors and finding out they're a cult that worships the former house owner.
That's actually dead and haunting the house.
That would be, imagine they were doing a seance on your front lawn the first night. Number 7. Number 8, focusing too much on the aesthetics of the property and neglecting to check for termites leading to a house that's falling apart at the seams. We don't have termite issues here, but there are other issues that could be easily overlooked when you get caught up in the frilly stuff.
For sure.
Number 9, not double checking the address and accidentally buying the house next door. Now you're stuck with a really awkward neighbor situation.
Excuse me.
It's actually funny because I had a client once send me a picture of his house, what he thought was his new house. I don't remember who this was. It was a friend that didn't live here.
Was it a new build?
Maybe. But then he comes back, he's like, oh no, sorry, that wasn't my house. I bought this one. Maybe he did this. Number 10 on today's top 10 list, forgetting to check for pests, only to find out that the house is home to an entire colony of raccoons living in the walls. It happens. I had a client not long ago. We sold a house last year on Higginbotham, and they had a raccoon somehow get in their attic. They ripped the big vent on top of their lower roof.
Yep.
Just ripped the whole thing out and ended up going in. By the time the pest control people were there, it was long gone. Worked out okay. There's your list.
Raccoons are smart.
Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening or watching episode 218 of KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. Do us a solid, subscribe and like. We'll see you next week.